Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Broman Show, episode 149.
Wow.
I can't believe it. What started off as a podcast that had me playing video game sounds in the background on accident has turned into something that is actually good. And I am incredibly excited to have Frank, TechniqTV, on the podcast today. I usually have a litany of things to say about my guests because they're really good at, one thing. But Frank, I would like you to let everybody know all of the projects that you are involved in right now and all of the different hats that you're wearing, because I think that is a really important place to start our conversation today.
Sure. This is going to sound kind of weird. I know people are gonna be like, oh, you're just bragging, but I try to
Please
stay
brag.
busy. All right, so I'm a host, a content creator, an actor, and a voice actor. And I am currently working on producing and developing and writing my own universe, mixed between comics, webtoons, and animations, something I've been wanting to do for a very long time. That's where I'm at right now.
That's truly incredible. I mean, any one of those is like it's like a valuable pursuit. It's like the end of the road for some folks. You're like, if I could just be hosting, or if I could just be acting, if I could just be voice acting, right? So the first question I have for you is what inspired you to take on so much, right? Like you said, you like to keep busy, but like what's beneath that?
Well, I'm an only child, and my parents are very strict. My mom is Japanese, Black, French, and my dad is Native American, white, and black. And the people are like, why race? Well, it comes with a lot of cultural background. So I was on a stiff and narrow. There was a path that was built for me to walk on ever since I was younger. And I didn't really get to go out and hang out with a bunch of friends or do anything outside. They kept me busy, and that was sports, and that was acting, and that was dancing, you name it, because their mentality was the more busy they can keep me, the more out of trouble I'll remain. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. And we moved from there to South Carolina, completely different. I mean, if you had a battery visibly in your mind, that's what I got going on right now. Positive and negative sides, opposites attract, huh? But anyway, came down to South Carolina because that's where my dad was originally from. He moved to New York when he was like 17 or something. And they really wanted me to have a better life. I mean, I think that's the goal for every parent for their child. And my mom, when I was a troublemaker coming out, so my mom didn't want to have any more kids. So she was like, it's just enough. I'm done. So I was involved in everything. When I was in high school, I was on the football team, basketball. I was going for All-American status. And I was thinking about this the other day because prom was coming up for kids or whatever. And I was just like, I did my whole prom thing. I did the setup and everything for the whole school. And now I feel like I have to continue that because being a mixed, well, mostly black young man, there's 3 strikes put against you. You're a man or male, you're black, and you just won't get a lot of opportunities. A lot of other people will be looked at before you. So for that, I had to make myself stand out, and I currently believe that. And now I feel like life is short. I lost a lot of family members due to COVID and the friends, and I want to get the most out of life. And I was like, why not put your hands in as many baskets as possible? Because not only am I creating opportunities for myself, I'm opening the door for other people as well. So that's the gist of it.
I like that. That's a personal philosophy of mine. Is like it's not success unless you know how to share it with someone else, right? Like you're not truly being successful if you aren't reaching back to where you were and trying to show people, here's what can be next. Here's what we could do together. And that was one of the big reasons why I started this podcast, because there was nobody. When I got started, there wasn't like a really strong, concise, free resource for anyone who was starting streaming, right? There was all these paywalls and like other advice. And I personally have always learned the most from hearing people's stories and hearing how people approach things, because we all have so many different creative ideas when it comes to the content creation or being a creative in general. that sometimes it's hard to narrow focus into like producing one thing. So now, after hearing host, content creator, acting, voice actor, producing, writing, I'm sure to you it feels very harmonious. And we were talking a little bit before about, multi-talented individuals and how we're constantly forced into like, what's your niche? What's the thing that's good for you? Like, do this one thing until everybody knows you for it. But for me, I always found that to be kind of like a vulnerability. So how did you take, obviously, this this discipline that you received to focus in and be exceptional growing up, and how did you take that and then going, I guess it's like against general advice, because the advice we all hear is go down this path, do this one thing, and here you are with so many different endpoints for your content, for your creative ideas. What got you from, I guess we'll start first, maybe, what got you started making content, and then what took you from that place to all of these different outlets to be creative?
Sure. When I first came, well, Twitch is the platform, I think the biggest platform right now that everyone can go to. I mean, besides YouTube, when it comes to content creation live, I was always into browsing YouTube, but I wasn't really into the online stuff so much because I was just coming out of college, playing football in college, left that behind, and now starting getting back into the digital world. I was always into video games. So I think back then I was a full-time DJ, and I would travel up and down the East Coast and do sets and stuff. And I got bored with it because I was just like, this is not my life. I'm not a party guy. Like, it's not my life. Everyone else wanted to hang out. I was like, set, done, going back to the hotel. I came across Twitch, but it was called Justin TV back then. And when I first logged onto the site, I thought it was viruses everywhere. I was like, oh, malware, because it was like ads all over the place,
Yep.
And I was like, no, I don't want this. And I got off. But Tally the Tank, actually, I played World of Warcraft back then. Like everybody did. And Tally the Tank was a big name. And I was like, whoa, this guy is a live streamer? What in the heck? What is this? And Soda Poppin' and all those names. And so I looked into them and I was like, wait, they make money from this? Like, is that a thing? Like I was like, whoa, that's nuts. So I would watch them, and I never thought about getting into it because I was like, it probably costs a lot to get into. And I would watch them, and Tally the Tank noticed me one day, and I was like, whoa, this is cool, because this is like a video game celebrity to us. And Duck Sauce, I became friends with him, and he was always very like interactive with his chat. And then Cold Carnage, the same thing, and you and everybody else started popping up, and I was like, wow, these guys are awesome. I'm meeting so many people that I never would think I'd meet outside because I have really bad social anxiety back then, And after about a year, I think it was like 2012, 2013, somewhere around there, I said, what if I always wanted brothers and sisters and somebody to watch me play video games and talk about the games because they have these great moments. What if I just pop a stream on one day? Didn't care about money because to me, that was just a pipe dream. And I talked it over with Cold Carnage back in the day because we all played arcades when that game went into beta.
Oh, man, yeah.
And beta back then. And he was just like, yeah, I think you should do it. He's always that. Yeah.
Yes. So positive. Give it a try.
So exactly. So I was like, all right, fine. So I had like a Asus laptop and this is gonna sound so ghetto. I went to the dollar store and got me a lamp with a yellow bulb. Yellow bulbs, and man, everything was yellow. And not actually yellow, but the bulb didn't put out like the LED lighting. This is back in the day.
No, it's like that incandescent,
right?
Hard to deal with on camera. It's harsh.
Bad.
Yes.
Yeah, whole right side of my face was like beaming, and I took the lampshade off. A horrible idea. And I played video games that way, and I had a really bad headset that made me sound like I didn't hit puberty yet. And we gamed on that. Had 40 people in my first stream, and
Wow.
I thought it was a lot. I thought it was a lot back then. And I was like, oh my God, this is a lot. I mean, it's a lot technically.
It is a lot back then. That was definitely a good first stream.
So I remember I said, I'll give a giveaway, first 100 followers. This guy came in, he was like, bro, you ain't gonna get to 100 followers for months. What you mean? I didn't know how it worked. And I stuck with it, and I stuck with it. And Towley always had my back. Cold Carnage always had my back. All the guys, Duck Sauce, you name it. And they didn't treat me like a fan or nothing. They treated me like I was on their level. And when I saw that kind of brotherhood that was forming, especially back then, because streaming was this big, and it was a little gray box that everyone thought was ludicrous. You paying people to watch you play, people are paying you to watch you play video games. It's nuts.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me doing it. And I was like, why? And I went out for partnership early. That was back when the number was like 500 and all this.
The 500 concurrent, and you gotta do so many hours live, and like, oh my god, yeah, what a mess.
Nuts. And I got around like 250 back then, and I was like, why not? And they denied me 3 times, and it was like I went out for my first month. After the 4th time, I was like, I'm done. I don't care anymore. I don't want partnership, and I played MMOs, and everyone's like, it's probably because your skin color, man. Have you ever thought about that? The 1%ers are all this color and this, that, and I was like, so you're telling me I won't be able to make it because of my skin colors? I was like, okay, cool. I took that in. That's fuel to me. I love it. I love when people say that. Because at that point, I was like, not stopping until I get there. And I messaged Twitch and I said, I appreciate what you do to me and what you do for this platform and what you give us, but I need to know why I'm not getting partnerships so I can work on that. And I got a reply. And back then it was kind of unheard of because
definitely.
Right?
My eyebrows went
they were like,
right up.
Wow, you want constructive criticism? And I was like, absolutely. And Zangold came to my channel and ripped it. Okay, like completely gave me a list of stuff. He was like, this. I fixed all that stuff. I didn't even reapply. A month later, I got him. It was April. I can't remember. I've been partner for like 8 years, 9 years. April, he said, wow, you're actually getting, 500, 600 viewers. This is great. We want to invite you to be a partner. And I was like, invite? What? And I called my mom and I was pinching myself. And early in the morning, I got the email and they were like, yeah, but back then they didn't give you your button, right? You just was partnered. And you got your button like later, because they want to make sure you maintained it.
Oh, that's right.
You remember that.
Partnered so you could run ads, and then you got your sub button like some point later down the road.
Once you proved that your numbers were good, And they gave it to me 2 weeks later, and Tally the Tank was my first. He waited up that night, first sub to give it to me. And ever since then, we've been here, and I've been wanting to make the ground rumble for everyone. Everybody. It didn't matter your color. As long as you got talent, you should be heard. As long as you have a positive message, because that's what we need right now. That's what I fight for today. And now I use all the stuff that I was able to get to try to open opportunities. And I always say, I want to create blueprints for people to build their own path, not follow a path that I've been on, because it doesn't make it worth it at that point.
I love the
answer. Hopefully that.
No, that was a fucking phenomenal answer. Are you kidding? I love the idea of building a blueprint, right? Because everybody's approach is different.
Yes.
And so it's more about knowing, like, step 1 looks like this. Step 2 looks like this, as opposed to like, do this, like just this, right? And because that can be so prohibitive, right? I remember for me, when I was getting started streaming, it was like, I thought I got in the game late. I was like, oh shit, 2013, they'd like just rebranded to Twitch. And I was like, damn it. Like I missed the boat on the next YouTube. But I was like, whatever, I'll start streaming anyway. I just want to raise money, and like maybe the GDQ people will like let me in and do a speed run and all this other stuff. And I discovered that same camaraderie across Twitch, right? This massive community of people, because that's what drew me into Twitch, was charity. It was this massive community of people that wanted to do good, and I was like, this is like fucking crazy. Like how are these streamers putting together these ad hoc events that are out earning? I grew up around nonprofits. These like out earning these really fancy high dollar dinners. Like they're putting up numbers, and this is still 10 years ago, right? Like almost when this stuff was getting started, no one had heard of it. It was so bizarre, and I show up. And I start getting to know people in the speedrunning community, and I start getting to know the showrunners at the GDQ events. And they were just like, oh, I'm following them around like a duck, like a little baby duck. Like, hey, what's this? What are you doing here? What are you doing here? And I'll never I'll never be able to say thank you enough to Mike and Rom, who used to, I think Mike still runs the overall stuff, and Rom then got a job at Twitch and all this other stuff. But they poured all the knowledge from their event into me, and they were like, you know, this is what we do. This is how we approach incentives. I tried to talk to Uranium Anchor, who like ran all their servers and stuff, and he was like, I do this. And I was like, oh my God, this is too complicated for me. Obviously, that's going to be another person's job if I ever want to do this. But because of what those two guys taught me, we were able to make the first fundraiser we ever did for GCX so successful.
Yeah.
And I hear when we talk to charities at Rare Drop, one of the first questions is, they're like, well, your first event did $500,000. How can we do that? And I'm like, you cannot. Like it was a very unique circumstance that kind of spawned the event. But the knowledge that, you know, watching the 24-hour marathon and figuring out the blueprint to like, okay, I don't want to bring everybody in person because I think that might be prohibitive, especially with the timeline we put on the first event. And I just want people to be able to work to stream from home. So like, how do we do it? And I sat down and I was like, I wrote it down. I was like, what do we need? Stream key, alerts, blah, blah, blah. But it was very much kind of taking that blueprint that they showed me and building something semi-original out of that.
Yeah.
And so, and if it wasn't for that camaraderie, which I feel like is definitely still there, right? Like that I feel like that spirit of content creation on Twitch is like, if you're not the guy in chat that's just showing up for the first time and being like, how do I do this? You know, and if you're a chat regular, like the experience you had, right? Like, you still can end up playing with your favorite content creators. Yeah. They're going to encourage you. They're going to share their hard-earned wisdom and show you, you know, this is the way that you can do it. This is the way that you can move your career forward, or just give it a try. Give it a try. I can like hear Co saying that in my head. So you start streaming, that starts going really, really well. You get partnered, and I just want to take a moment and pause. And like, if you are listening to this podcast, like go back and just listen to how Frank accepted feedback. I think a lot of times, and this is a personality flaw that I came into the space with and I had to unlearn. I was very resistant to critique. And I was because it's your ego, right? Like you think you're doing it the best, but like if we're all honest with ourselves, like you just got started, like you're not going to be the best person in the room, and you have to have that humility to take that critique. So I slowed down my success a little bit by being like, no, I'm fine. But God, I wish I would have had the humility to take that kind of feedback and transform my stream, because, you know, for you, it flipped everything on its head. It was like, you got that invite. So what takes you from now I'm streaming, I'm a partner on Twitch, to I want to start hosting. I want to start acting. I want to start doing voice acting, right?
Good question. Well, acting, I've been doing that for a long time. I was like even in a Huggies commercial. That was the little baby.
Awesome.
Was the worst Huggies baby, by the way. I would tear down a set.
I was like, in what way?
Yeah. They were like, what commercial is good for this? 13 years old and stuff. Acting started taking off really, really good. I went out for Jet Jackson, that show. I was going up against.
Oh, was that with Nick Cannon?
No.
I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah. But you know, he's gone now. Unfortunately, he passed away. But we knew each other really well, and I knew he was gonna get it because back then he was lighter skinned than me, and that's a factor. And a lot of people don't understand that going out for Disney and these big back then. I don't know about now, but those auditions, they would critique you on if your eyebrow like set up higher than the other one, they would notice it. So
that's intense.
It's intense. So the reason why I'm telling you that is I took that beating early on. You know, those humility beatings, and something that you have to ask yourself, is this entertainment business right for me? Do I want to be torn down every time I go in? If I had a little gap between my teeth when I was younger, they would point that out. Some people would love that, and some people did not, and you had to understand that not every director, not every casting agency is going to like you. And the good ones didn't just tell you no, they told you why. And it could be the most awful things that you would ever think to hear when you're young, but you have to take it in and work on ways to put up those defensive walls to absorb the damage, but not just deflect it. And that's something I took in early. So I was just happy that a Twitch staff member reached out, because they were like myth to us back then, unless you were like
my
the top
God.
1%.
You see a wrench in chat?
Yeah, you're like,
just like a unicorn.
yeah.
Why are you here?
I don't know about you, but back in the day, we used to keep our viewer list open. So, seeing that happen, I was like, wow. And they were like, act normal, before whispers and all that stuff. But anyway, so funny that you mentioned that, because I got partnered right before TwitchCon. I got partnered 5 months within streaming, and TwitchCon was coming up. They announced TwitchCon, and I was buying my tickets when I got my sub button.
Oh, wow.
And they, had the thing where we could get I don't know if it was a discount or what. I can't remember what it was back then when it came to being a partner. But you had all this special stuff. You got like a special party, all this stuff, a special VIP section. And you had to make sure you had all that stuff done before you go to TwitchCon. So went to TwitchCon. It was a blast. Had a great time. People were treating me bigger than I was. All the people that I marveled was like hugging me and just being all nice. The end of it, where Anna and Marcus, or DJ Wheat and Anna, stood up there and they were crying on stage, because all that hard work and preparation paid off. TwitchCon 1 was incredible. We having that many people together, nothing bad happened. Everyone was just, having a good time. And I saw that passion in them, and I say, you know what? I want to do this. I want to host an event. I want to host something major. I don't care if it's charity. I just want to do something where people can just take in the love of having someone stand up that used to have the worst social anxiety in the world, be able to stand in front of thousands of people and speak. And so I sent a letter to Anna, because I found her email. Twitch email. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, you probably don't know who I am. Back then I had a different name. I was DJ Tech Live back then. And I was like, I really loved your passion, and I really want to host. What do I have to do to prove to you that I'm going to be a good host? And I told her why, and I told her what assets I can bring, and I sold myself. I was always good at selling anything, and she said, you know what? You're a hard pass to just say, we're working on stuff. What do you want to get out of this? And I said, I don't care about the fame. I don't care about the money. I just want to inspire people and make this industry better for what it is, and put a little footprint, if I can, on this industry, so they know that whenever I leave it, I did something positive. And I don't have to have that notoriety. I just want to see it happen. And she said, okay, give me a week. We have some plans. They sent me this rough draft of what they're going to put together, and it was like called a hosting workshop. And
I remember the hosting work. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, this is a trip down memory lane. Okay.
Yeah, and she was
hosting
like,
workshop.
We kind of put this together because of your passion, but you have to apply for this, and you have to go through a fair process like everyone else. And I said, I was like, just being able to do this is enough for me. So I really took a long time on that application and made sure I had 3 other people read it, and and make sure that the grammar, everything, punctuation, you name it. Sent it off, got accepted, and a bunch of people got accepted. It was like about 40 people in there, which sounds like a lot, but if you put Twitch in the aspect of how big Twitch is, it's not really a lot of people. It's very selective. And when I went down there, everybody was all about partying and stuff, not me. I was all about like focusing. I took notes on everything. If Ezekiel III was there, Rachel Sessler, Kelly Link, all those people that I've seen on like World of Warcraft and Smite and all these commentators, and I was just blown away that I was in the same room as them. And we did a mock the weekly back then, a mock draft.
Oh man, and, Twitch Weekly.
Yeah. A guy named Andrew was there, who's the CEO of CSA, and they do everything. Okay, Golden Boy's part of them and everything, you name it. This young guy walked up to me. I think it was about 5'6", 5'7", I don't know. And I thought I was a teenager. say, hey, can I speak to you for a second? I was like, yeah. I was like, I don't know what this. So I walked over and he was like, hey, my name is Andrew. I own CSA. And I was like, what? And I was really confused. He was like, there's not a lot of people that Marcus talks about. I knew Marcus for 10 and a half years back then. It was a long time ago. And he said, he always says that you always want to have your hand in a pot and you're a go-getter. And I see that. He said, out of all these people, you were just writing notes nonstop. You're focused and you applied it to your video, and I watched your video. I'm going to keep my eye on you. And that like blew my mind.
That's so cool.
Got on a plane to leave, head back, and I got a phone call right before we departed. Thank goodness we didn't depart. We had a hold up. And that's why I say everything happens for a reason. We had a delay. Old lady sitting next to me. I thought she was going to puke. She wasn't feeling good. And I was like not in a good mood because of that.
Yeah.
Got a call from Anna. She said, hey, are you available for PAX West? We want you to host PAX West. I was like, huh? Come again. And I just started crying.
Wow.
I just couldn't stop. Like all the emotion just came out of me. And the old woman put her hand on my arm. She's like, are you okay? And I was like, no. I was like, I think one of my dreams got answered. And she was like, oh, I'm so happy for you. And it was just really lovely. And
That's awesome.
I was like, I just took off a week of work. I'm gonna have to explain to my job that I gotta do this again, but I was willing to quit my job for this. Talked to like a CIO because I was in IT, and she was like, go follow your dreams. We'll be here for you when you get back. And boy, did I, and that's where it all started. And it was PAX West 15, something like that.
Yeah.
And I've been hosting ever since, and I've done all the major events, E3, PAX, all the PAXs, Comic Cons, you name it. And I don't want to be done. And then Twitch Studios went away, and it was heartbreaking. But now I'm still doing it. I'm still doing the new weekly.
Yeah. I remember when Twitch made that, not to like turn this into like, two guys talk about what happened long ago. Baby. Yeah, just hanging out. But like I remember when Twitch started making some of these changes after Amazon, after the acquisition. They were as a company trying to figure out how do we want to do this. Yeah. And when they shut down Twitch Studios and the hosting and stuff, it was a heartbreaker.
That was a blow, man.
That was. I made a lot of people really sad because that had become sort of like one of those things that people were like going for, right? Like I'm streaming on Twitch and like I can't wait. Like I want to get on Twitch Weekly, or I want to host Twitch Weekly, I want to be on the show floor of PAX. Like that'll be really cool. And then it kind of just evaporated overnight.
Yeah, man.
So I guess two questions for me then there. Like one, how did that feel? How did you pick up and keep moving after that? And I'm super curious as to what your next step was to say like, okay, well this is closing out. Where do I go now?
Oh, I was coming off of a high. It was my second E3 I hosted. To say that I hosted E3 still gives me butterflies because all I wanted to do was ever be on G4 and host E3 because G4 used to do all of those coverages. Yeah. And I was like, if I couldn't imagine, let alone be at E3. That was a dream back in the day. Yeah. And when I got the call to do it, I was just like, oh my God. I mean, I showed up like completely strange. I had a shirt and tie. Like people were like, what are you wearing? This is Twitch, not CNN, Yeah. But when I got the news, it was like someone actually just uppercutted my stomach and knocked every breath out of my body. I was like, this is a joke. This is not real. And I'm like, I'm just getting started. My dreams are like shattering right in front of me. And the company went through so many big changes. We didn't know, but a lot of people were leaving the company at the same time because they didn't want to be under the Amazon umbrella. And with reason. And I didn't know. I was like, what happened to Twitch Studio? They were like, well, it's gone. And all communications from anybody I knew at Twitch ceased for a year and some change. And I thought I did something wrong. And I saw they were doing like little snippets of stuff because they still had contracts out there, but it was only like the top, host that they've had forever. Yeah. And like John Carnage left, and like all these, Man vs. Game wasn't no longer doing stuff. All these people that you normally see all the time, and I'm like, is Twitch dying? Because I thought my career was over. Time. Yeah, it was hard. It was a really hard transition, and I remember saying, I miss my studio family, and I got heat for that. People were like, it's not all about you. We're losing to it. And like, you know, I'm not gonna say any names, but people that I never thought would snapped on me. And I thought that ended my career because I wasn't getting hosted, rated by anybody. Nobody was coming around. Nobody wanted to know anything about tech, nothing. And my channel plummeted. Okay. Like it was a bad time. I was losing everything. And I was going to quit streaming. I was just like done. I was like, I don't want to go through this emotional damage anymore. Like, I just don't want to do it. And I put so much money and time and effort into this to become something better. To people just think that I'm trying to be selfish when I'm not, because I don't parade my successes too much on Twitter, you know, or any other social. I don't feel like I have to talk about what I'm working on or talk about what I've done unless it's something that they want me to say, because I feel like the proof is in the work. You know, if someone got an opportunity to host a weekly and I was a part of that, I don't have to go to them and say, hey, you're there because of me. I'm happy for them, period. And I'll reflect on that and bounce back. The reason why I'm saying that is Critical Bard reached out to me not too long ago, and he was like, I'm hosting a weekly. And I was like, that's great, man. I'm so proud of you, dude. I know how bad you wanted this. This is great. And he was like, no, man, this is because of you. And you know, that hearing that was like enough, you know? And I told him, I said, yeah, man, I really appreciate that. He was like, no. Everyone is telling me how you fought for this. You fought for people that look like us and like other minorities and any other, you know, LGBTQA groups. Everybody can be involved in this. And it's not just singular. And I was like, yeah, that's what we all should be fighting for, man. You know, now the torch is passed. Now you help me, you know? And it's great. And I made it very big point that you don't have to post about all that stuff. You know, you just make it done. So anyway, later on, I got contacted by a friend of mine, and they were like, are you doing okay? Mr. Happy, or Mike, Mr. Happy contacted me, and he's always treated me like a blood brother. And I was like, no, I'm not. He said, we need to talk, because I could see it in your face when you stream. And he's like, you don't hide stuff well, and I don't want you to damage something that you could potentially be great at. I was like, okay. Sat down and talked to him. He told me some things. He said, I think that you need to take a break and like reflect on some things and really put your mind to it and find out what you're missing. I said, okay. Reach out to Bike Man. And I told Bike Man, I was like, I don't like me. I don't think anybody likes me. I was like, I don't even like myself. I was like, I hate being in the skin that I am in. I hate this, that, and the other. You know, I was reverting back to what I was a kid when I had these conversations with my mom. Like, I was like, why couldn't I be your complexion? You know? And Bike Man was like, well, I like you. And I was like, but I suck. And he was like, then be good at sucking. And I didn't understand. I was like, the heck you mean? You know, you're supposed to be consoling me. But then it dinged on me. And he was like, dude, if you're good at something, somebody's going to like you for it. He's like, you just got to keep that attitude. And I was like, all right. And then Ezekiel the third contacted me at like 3 a.m. in the morning, you know, out of his time, just to talk to me, to make sure I was okay. And I said, if all these people are contacting me, then I touched them in some way. There's something there that I'm doing a disservice if I give up. So I said, you know what? We're chopping off. DJ Tech Live is never the name I wanted to be, because everyone got me confused with DJ Night for some reason. I don't know why. And I was like, I came first, you know? So everyone thought it was funny. I never thought it was funny. I was like, I don't want to be like, we're two different people, you know? It's a lot of underlying issues with that. And so I said, you know, I never really created an identity for myself online. I just went with what I already had, because I never decided to do this. It just kind of fell in my lap. And so I decided to rebrand. I said, that's my next step. It's the last straw. And I did like a movie premiere, and over a month I teased what was happening. I did countdowns. I did short snippets of videos. I put a lot of production time into it. And I did not know, I think it was like one of my biggest tweets. It got up to like 10,000 people or something like that liking it, and retweeted like hundreds of thousands of times. And everyone was looking forward to it. And people were like, I can't wait to see it. So I worked with Twitch, say, hey, Twitch, I haven't contacted you in a long time. I need help. And we had partner managers then, you know, and Alyssa was my partner manager. And she's like, you know what? You can either do this while I'm going on vacation or do it when I come back. I said, I'm gonna wait for you. So a month of teasing people. Avengers video game was coming out. And I was like, this is perfect. We can line it up with the beta release. And I I did it. I made a video and I said, hey guys, this is what I'm doing. I just quit my job to go full time. Everything was happening. Everything was on the line, Ben. I couldn't even announce the damn thing. Carnage was watching it to the time of the post. And next thing you know, 15,000 people invaded my channel and like subs and everything was going off. This stuff started popping off on Twitter. You name it was like a big event, and I never planned any of that. And it touched me, and I was very emotional. And I said, you know what? The world still needs a Frank, a me, obviously. And everything started falling in place. I thought it was a trial and tribulation that if I hung in there, here's my reward. If I would have gave up, I would have never known. NRG is a company that worked with like Conan O'Brien, you name it, all this. It's a big production company, and they work with Twitch now. And Twitch's reason for getting rid of Twitch Studios is because they wanted to go bigger production. And I've been working with them since, you know, and for years now. I think I'm on my 4th or 5th season of my show with them, and everything lined up. And the moral of the story is like, don't give up, man, on your dreams. Like, I'm 38 years old. I'll be 39 this year. And, you know, it's like it's hard to become a reality when you hit those numbers.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, that's
like, first of all, thank you for being so open about all that. I don't think enough people who make content as a career are open about the emotional side of things. Like, I'm hearing you talk about that. I'm getting emotional. It's bringing up memories. For me, right, I think we all deal with that. Yeah, I'm fucking tearing up. You know, like, you know, for me, when things started transitioning away from streaming full time, when I had to make this, it's been 2 years now, almost, when I made the decision to stop. And I never made an announcement on Twitter. I never like got anything together. I never did any of that shit because it just sort of happened. Yeah. Pandemic happened, and I was like, we got to make this rare drop thing like it's all hands on deck. So what do we need to do? And I think there was a period of like 3 months where I was still streaming full time, and then just slowly it was like I was like, no, like I need to put my time here. I need to put my time here, and it was fucking terrifying. Yes. To go through the experience of watching everything I built and everything I dumped all of my time into my stream, right? To go from averaging, you know, tons of viewers to 10% of that. It's a real gut punch, but you know, for me, it was, I felt the responsibility because at that point we had built such a great relationship with St. Jude. And I was like, I gotta keep streaming. I have to keep in contact with this space because this is how I learn how to do the things that these other charities need. And it was a brutal year, and we prospected a lot of business, but we got to that was the year where we took like the GCX charity blueprint, and we got to consult for like charities I would never dream of working with. You know, we got to work with AmFAR. We got to work with News Story. We got to work with the USO. I got to text like my grandma was like, what? You know, like everybody's so, it's like the USO, like it was just so cool. And then to go from a place of like, I don't even know if what I've done here, what I've learned here, what I put my time into is valuable to someone else. Because for me, you know, it's definitely trailblazing, right? Pandemic shut everything down. We were getting like 15, 20 emails a week from these charities, just from the info page on Rare Drop. It wasn't like they saw me tweet. They were like doing Google searches and like, these people do gaming charity and like, please help us, like desperate people. And we would, you know, we'd sit down and we'd interview him. I must have taken like 30 or 40 meetings to get I think we ended up with like 4 or 5 clients. But what felt good to me was I always told every charity, I was like, the first meeting with us is always going to be like free. We're not going to charge you any consulting hours. And I'm not here to gatekeep knowledge for you. I would tell people that I said, there's 3 things I want you to walk away with. I said, I want you to walk away with an understanding of how the gaming space works so that you don't show up and make mistakes and make it harder for yourself later. I'm going to introduce you to the kind of tools that you need to have in your toolkit so that way you can actually get started. And then I'm going to teach you about finding content creators, right? Mm-hmm. It's not just because everybody gets on the call and they're like, all right, how do I work with Mr. Beast?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it's like luck, you know, like that's not the pathway. And then, you know, our method, the method that we developed at Rare Drop, it's about building community because for me, the digital space wasn't going anywhere. And then these people got forced into a crisis point and they're like trying to figure it out. And I was like, look, we built this community. You can do it too. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of effort. But for the charities that stuck in there and did amazing things, I mean, like, we got to, you know, we got to help News Story Charity earn the business for Thankmas last year. Oh. And that was like, you know, for me, it was so cool to work with them and like help them put together their deck and like show. I was like, you need to show the people at Tiltify, you need to show, you know, Jacksepticeye that you understand gaming and that you're gonna come to the table with these great ideas, with these great offers, these kind of things that content creators go like, wow, there's this novelty here that I want to work with. And it turned out so well. That event in particular is something that has always been, it's like one of the first things that always comes up when we talk about GCX. Like, oh, we, you know, we're like a world record, you know, breaking. We were like once upon a time, the biggest gaming charity event ever. And that was really cool. And then, you know, that was kind of like how do we get there? And I, you know, to transition from how do I grow GCX to be that successful to why don't we just like, there's all these people out here doing charity. Why don't we just help the charities figure out how to earn the attention of these wonderful content creators? Yeah. Because everybody's so passionate. So that was a lot of me talking, but I just,
no.
You really, like your story resonated with that part of my experience because that, man, it's so scary to be on the precipice of, you know, losing it all.
Yeah.
And like I had, I'm super curious about this. So like, I remember one day, I like talked to my therapist and she was like walking me through, she was like, what happens if it all falls apart? I was like, she's like, literally tomorrow, like something happens, your Twitch channel gets deleted, your YouTube channel gets deleted, you get your your Twitter gets deleted, you don't have any social media. She's like, what happens? And I had never like, that's such a fucking scary thing, right? Scary. And she made me sit there. She was like, okay, how is that day going to feel for you? I was like shit. It's going to feel like shit. And she goes, okay, what's going to happen? You know, if that happens on Monday, what's the next Monday for you going to be like? And I was like, I don't know. I'm going to probably have to sit down and figure out what to do with my life. And she was like, okay, what about a month later? And I was like, I feel like I probably would have figured out a new job or something, you know, like I haven't, like what I've done isn't worthless, which is like the first time I admitted that to myself. And then she's like, what about a year from now? Like, is that one thing happening to you going to perpetually make you unhappy for the rest of your life? Like you believe, or if you sit down and like lay it out, and that helped me get over that fear, realizing that there's always going to be a next day. Yes. You're going to have to wake up. You're going to have to like see the sunshine again. You're going to be eating breakfast and doing all the normal things in life, even if everything is fundamentally different.
Yes.
So what was it for, like you'd mentioned, like what got you to kind of push through was all these people that you made connections with reaching out. But was there a moment like that where you were like, you know, this is my crystallized truth. That conversation with her became a guidepost for me. So what was that truth for you?
Oh man. So, and this is me being completely vulnerable right here. And I would not do this on anybody else's show. So just to go with credibility to you. I went through a very bad time. I was watching friends commit suicide because of people's words online. And that hit me. And I asked myself, why the heck am I doing this for people to just tear us down and make us do things like this? I would lock myself in a closet in the darkness and cry, man. You know, it was ripping my marriage apart. It was ripping everything apart. And I asked myself, is this worth it? Why do you want this so bad? Like, I would just tell myself, like, what? People get lucky. You're just not lucky, you know? And I was just tearing myself down.
Yeah.
And I told myself, I'm sick of beating myself. I beat myself up mentally, physically, you name it, so much in my life that there's got to be someone out there that enjoys me. And if they enjoy me more than I enjoy myself, that's a problem. And I still go through that this day. I'm not saying that I completely healed from that stuff, because one day you could be having, like, the online stuff is just incredibly fluctuating all over the place. And you know, you could be one day, I mean, January, February, I was hitting 1,500, you know, sometimes 11,000 people in my channel, you know, because it was a new game release. And I was like, okay, I know that number is superficial, but 1,500 sounds good, you know, and like, that sounds where I need to be at, you know, that's I've worked for that. And I was hitting it, you know, and like my bad days was like 1,000. I was like, this is perfect. This is exactly where I want to be, because 11,000 is exhausting, you know, like that number. And I started seeing it drop, and I was like, okay, 500 to 800 is good. You know, I started like going to that denial stage. You know?
Okay.
And
Yes.
I was like, okay, 300 to 500, but I can work on it. And it dropped down to 150. You know, my comfortable number, you know, I guess where everybody wants to sit at. And then I lost 400 followers, and I lost, you know, and all this stuff started. And then I told myself, it was funny because people were like, I was like, don't mention numbers in my channel. Don't mention how many viewers I have, because that'll throw me off. You know, and because people are happy. They're like, oh my God, you have so many viewers. I was like, don't say that, you know?
Don't.
Now, I'm not going to tell a lie. I'm very honest. The other day me and my wife go on walks now to be healthy. You know, we go on these walks, and I told her, I said, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. You know, and she's like, it's not you. And I was like, it's gotta be me. I was like, what else can it be? You know, this, that, and the other. And you started comparing yourself to other people, and you started looking at what all you've done and how long you've been doing this. She was like, do you ever look and ask yourself how lucky you are to be able to even do this, even if it's temporary? Like, who gets to leave their job because they're mentally torn down? I did full-time working for 8 years of my streaming. Okay. I just last May, I went full-time. So, and I put a lot of hours into streaming on top of working a lot of hours.
Yeah.
Don't know why my wife's with me with that one. But, you know, I beat myself up. Imposter syndrome is heavy on me, but I tell myself little things to move past that. And I say, hosting a house party with 150 people that's hard. That's a lot of people. It's a stream. I should be happy with that. You know, I should be happy with that. I should treat 40 people, 100 people, 5 people as if I had 11,000 people. That excitement level is what get people coming back. And eventually I'll just figure out the formula for me. But what keeps me going is for some reason, I feel like there's something bigger out there for me, and I have to go through these climbs, these falls, these elevated periods to prepare myself for that. And this is gonna be really funny that I bring this up, but the unfortunate events that happened to Will Smith put a lot of reality into perspective. Your life can change like that, just to one little itty bitty thing that can happen, a mistake that can happen, a good point in your life can be flipped upside down, and you have to, no pun intended, Fresh Prince. But you can have that moment where everything flips and you have no answers. Do you stop living? Does life pause for you? Does the timetable stop? No, everybody will move on and work through it, and you have to learn how to do the same. So mental health is something that is very important. And I think is just as important, sometimes even more important than physically knowing that you are in a good place. You need to mentally know that you're in a good place. And if this all came crashing down tomorrow, I'll be fine. I have 2 degrees. I can sell myself to anything and everything because I'm confident now. I've taken all the beatings, and nobody out there online can beat me as much as I beat myself. And when I realize that, I can move forward. I can take that extra step, you know, until I don't wake up the next morning. I want to take each day as my only day. And that was a hard lesson to learn, because we always think about the future, what we're going to do. But what about today? You know, what if tomorrow doesn't come? Can I say that I'm happy with how I lived today? And a lot of times that's a no, because I worried too much about tomorrow. So now when I take my breaks on stream, I go outside and look at the sky, man. Dang, we can see the sky. Lucky. Some people can't even see that, you know, and like we can walk. Some people can't even walk. And I don't like to, that's not me watering down people's problems, because that's the last thing I want to do. I hate when people say, you know, you have a house to live in, you know, what about the homeless people?
Yeah.
You know, but taking the time to appreciate what you have built. I was a homeowner at 28. A lot of people can't say that, you know, and like, I have to be proud of that. It's funny how you put it. I don't take compliments well. You'll see, like, you've complimented, I was just like, look down, you know, I have those, because I'm a very humble person, and it's when someone else says it's a whole different ball game, because that means that you've shown that you have done these things, and it's a validation that you like to hear. And I think sometimes people may sit on that too much. But as for what comes next for me, and I just want to make it till tomorrow. You know, if I would love to be on the silver screen, you know, acting. I would love to be in a AAA video game voice acting. I would love to be hosting a world premiere of, you know, the next Spider-Man film or whatever. I don't know. Those are great things to shoot for, but I think Denzel Washington said it best. You know, goals are just dreams if you don't put any practice into it, you know, and dreams aren't going to really get you anywhere. They're just dreams. And so I really want to make sure I lay groundworks, and it's how we go through these tough periods that are going to define us later for the good periods. And we may not ever get those, what we define as good periods.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a harsh reality, man. You know, it's just something that you have to kind of wake up and take it day by day. I'm not an expert, believe me. But being recognized by people like you is important to me, because I've always looked up to you. I was like, wow, look at this organization, look what, you know, what you and Kevin built, and Tim, and like everybody's just so positive. I mean, hell, sometimes I even have to question, like, why me? You know? I mean, you asked me to be on this podcast. I look at that as an honor to be able to sit with one of the you know, the people that I consider you a foundation builder. And it's important.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for all your vulnerability there too. I mean, we could do a whole nother podcast about how I feel like we need to do a better job all talking to each other about how we speak to each other online.
Oh man.
You know, and I totally understand that. Yeah, I'm a hide under the blankets and cry kind of guy myself. So I'll put that out there for people. And it's you know, but it's real, right? The emotional impact of what happens is real, and the tough times are real. And I completely resonate with what you're saying about if you're always thinking about tomorrow, you can't appreciate now. I've really tried to start appreciating, you know, everything I have every day, and not in a way that I feel like people told me when I was little, like that stupid way, for lack of better words, right? The way where it's like someone else has it worse than you, so put a smile on your face. I think that there's a way to experience life where, you know, one of my favorite, and I wish I could remember what book it was, or which philosophical talk that I heard this from, but that somebody said, like, it's important to remember that you can always be childlike in how you appreciate things, but that doesn't mean that you're childish. Yes. And my whole life, you know, I ADHD, like I was not accepted for who I was, like, ever. And it's a mental disability, so it's hidden. So people are just like, you're fucking weird. My whole life, right? And so I really shut down the parts of me that were fascinated by things. But what I didn't know when I did that I was closing off these pathways to my creativity, and going through therapy and going through the pandemic, it really showed. I really got to rediscover and accept that. Yeah, like I'm weird, and like I'm the guy that wants to be friends with the birds and like stare at flowers, and I'm gonna get distracted by butterflies, and like that's cool. That's just
okay.
who I am, and that's how my brain likes to work. And there's so much power when when you begin to accept that who you are is enough, and what you like is okay. And the way that you go about living your life, however you choose to do it, as long as you're not hurting someone else, is totally fine.
Yes.
And that was, and so that everything you were sharing there really hit home for me too. For like in a big way. So when, oh yeah, and I wanted to say like. It was funny because at the beginning of all this, there was this stuff happening, and it would just fucking take me out. Like one bad thing, and I'd be like a fucking mess for a week.
Yeah.
And there was a point in everything where I was like, how bad do you want this? Like, is this what you actually want? And I was like, yes, this is what I want. And then I was like, okay, well, like if you really think you want to be like a C-suite executive at a company, like. This is the shits, man. Like this is what's going to happen to you every fucking day. And like, that's how it is. And until you can learn how to, I don't know, for me, when I'm navigating emotions, I like to think about Bruce Lee.
Oh yeah.
Because I used to try to resist everything. But I was like, no, I need to practice letting these things pass through me.
Yeah.
And letting them maybe inform my day, but not control my day.
Yes.
And that was a huge turning point for me. Reconnecting with, and it's hard, right? Like when you've been doing shit for a while, reconnecting with what brought you there in the first place.
Yes.
I think a great place to start, maybe if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, wow, like I feel like I'm in this place where I'm figuring shit out. You know, ask yourself the question, like, do I want to be here right now? And take your own, to borrow from your book that you've been talking from the whole time, take your own constructive criticism and improve yourself. And that's something I wanted to highlight because it came up so many times when you were telling your story, is you at every opportunity you reached out for feedback. Yeah. You reached out to see what other people thought about what was, what you were doing or how you could improve. And you took that and you implemented it. What advice do you have for people who are listening that maybe really fucking suck at taking feedback? Yeah. Or they're really resistant to it. How did you learn how to temper that stuff into your life?
This is going to sound really the word weird. But I used to hate the way I look. I don't think anybody really likes the way they look. I mean, that's why we have like enhancement, this, that, and the other involved. But when you see yourself in a mirror and you look back at yourself, the world sees you completely different from what you see, and it goes to person. So there's a good and a bad to that. The good is that someone may notice something that you never knew about yourself because you present it, but you don't hone it. And the idea behind it is you don't have to like what everyone says, but it's always good to listen. Because that's a big problem with us as human beings is we don't like to listen. We like to pick apart what people say and only pick out certain things and then give our verbal defense why we're like this, or try to spit out advice to someone when they're not asking for it, So when you listen, it's like that image where all the numbers start flowing in front of your face. You see all these possibilities. And when someone says, you're very articulate, but maybe if you slow down your speech, people can actually take in what you're saying and take you a little bit more serious. What? So when I go online and host, I'm like, hello, everyone. Welcome to the weekly. Today is a fantastic day because gaming is in a brand new era. It hits home. Instead of saying, welcome, today is where gaming hits a brand new era. It's a whole different feeling, and I was like, whoa, I didn't know I needed to work on that, because I always say I'm good. I keep getting hired. Obviously I'm good. No, there's a lot that I can do. Like, yeah, you get hired for this, but what about this? You know? So constructive criticism. Now there's criticism that you shouldn't take out there.
Yes.
I would like to say everyone needs to understand where it's coming from. If someone is beating you down and belittling what you have, who you are and what you've done, then that's advice that you don't want to listen to. But if someone is saying, you know, I think you do a great job if you sat back with your shoulders back and show them how proud you are, because you tend to slouch a little bit, and your confidence level doesn't exude what you're saying. What the heck? I didn't even know that was a thing. You know, so that really it really helps me, and I can impart, and I can give that advice to someone else that asks for that advice instead of pushing it on them. You know, and so I think that's what makes people like Bruce Lee and Denzel Washington so amazing, because when they sit in interviews, they do what? They sit back, they look at the person in their eye, and they listen. Yeah. And they don't give an answer immediately. They go, they think on it, and then they speak. And I started noticing that when I was watching all these old interviews, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's like next level, and that's old school doing it. And we're so fast to answer and say yes to things and do things, because we feel like if we don't do it in that moment, we'll lose it, you know? So that's what I would say, is just take it in. Don't respond immediately. Think about it, even if it takes a day or so. Like, think on it, write it down. Writing down stuff is so important. Yes. Write down your thoughts, your emotions, keep a journal. It's not a weakness. Be emotional, accept it. And I think that advice or constructive criticism is priceless. You know, money really can only get you so far, but advice that's really sound can get you so far, and you keep getting paid from it. You know, and that's not necessarily mean materialistic payment. Yeah. But yeah, that would be my advice.
No, I could, like, investing in yourself and improving your skills, it's always going to pay you back. You don't know how it's going to pay you back. You don't know, you don't know what's going to happen, but I mean, we've been running Rare Drop for 5 years now, and there's stuff that we started doing. There's stuff that's happening this year for GCX that happened because, you know, when I was streaming on Twitch, I was a nice guy to all my partner managers. Yeah. And those people move on to other positions. And sometimes those are the kind of people that are like, I liked working with that person. Yes. And you get an opportunity delivered to your front door that would have never, ever happened because you didn't know it, but you already passed the interview. Yes. That has been an experience for me over and over again. And then when you get into an environment where somebody's like kind of expecting that version of you, and then you show up better, oh my God. Yeah. It is, they're like, wow, like you have really been, you've been growing, you've been investing in this, you've been trying to enhance, you know, all of the skill sets that you need. And it's not, for me, a big thing was I want to own my role. I don't want to feel like I did at the beginning where it's like, this is just the title. Like, I just got to pick it. Yeah. And then I got to get this going. But it like, it's more than that. Like, why'd you make that choice? Like, what can you do here? Yes. Can you redefine how this role works in a company? Can you, you know, and continuing to ask the same questions of myself to get me to grow and to listen. Yes, man. I tell you what, just
to piggyback real quick off of that, what you just said, because I tend to have a great things in my head and they go, whoop.
Yes.
They already did. No, I'm just kidding. It kind of did. What I was gonna say is, a couple of things. First, you ever heard that story? You have a bad day. Let's say you're driving to work and your tires pop. Right? You're late to work. You're going to get chewed out. You might get ripped up. You don't know what's going to happen. You're just cussing out life in general. And you're just saying everything is bad. But that potential pop tire could have prevented an accident from happening 10 miles down the road that could have been fatal to you. Yeah. I always like to take that moment and always tell people to like think about those moments of why something happened. It could be bad. It could be good, but that can potentially lead on to something much better for you in the end. It's just, those trials and tribulations of real life it's not promised to us all to be great. And when you do have something that's overwhelmingly good constantly happen to you, something's not right. You know, you need to have ways to adjust and adapt. And I feel like there's only one unique us. So everyone's always saying that there's tons of content creators, there's tons of CEOs. No, there's only one Ben, there's only one Frank here. I mean, not name wise, obviously there's a lot.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? We're a unique build. You know,
Yes.
Our character creator and my nerdy self was way early. There's not going to be another one of us. People can try to be what we are, but they'll never be us. So that's why you got to own it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's a hard lesson to learn. And sometimes we don't want to own it, but there's a reason why we're still here. And we have to keep pushing for it. But anyway.
No, I completely agree. This, Frank, this has been one of the coolest podcasts I've ever done here.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I again, I just want to say I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate your insight. You are in a class of your own in my mind as an incredibly, there's a lot of people who are multi-talented individuals that can do a lot. But your presence of mind and the way that you approach weaving it all together, right? I have all these skills. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be one color of paint in the painting.
Yes.
We can use everything that I got. And it's been a pleasure watching you and your career grow.
Thank you.
And I'm super excited to see where it's going next. I will now give you the floor for some closing stuff. Anything you want to promote or talk about or get into, anything you want folks to know about. And please let everyone know where they can find you online as well.
Will do. Well, first of all, I want to say this has been an absolute pleasure. I 100% agree with you. I think things like this need to happen more often. What you're doing is special. We all need to start talking to each other more often because it's different. I mean, therapy is great, but it's so healing. On top of that, to have people that's in your area of expertise can come together and be vulnerable, and you don't always have to fit that stereotypical thought that someone thought of that men can't be emotional and men can't be open to change and criticism. Alpha male syndrome is just a thought. It's just, you don't have to live by it.
Yeah.
My goodness. I just want to promote comics. It's a show that I do with Nighthawk Plays, aka Matt. It's part of the Rare Drop team, and we love comics. We love everything nerd culture, and we want to bring you into it. Things that you may have thought that got you picked on when you were younger, that's the in now. That's the cool thing. It's cool to wear tight pants. It's cool to wear, or fitted pants, I should say, maybe not tight. It's cool to read comic books and talk about cartoons. And if you like Legos at age 40, that's awesome.
Yes.
And that's what we're all about. We're all about the awesome. You can find me on twitch.tv/Techniq. That's no U-no-E, just a Q at the end. I stream RPGs and role-playing games, and I voice act the parts that don't have voice acting, and we're very creative there. We love being just the weird and awesome, and I want to create a safe place for anybody and everyone there. Everyone is welcome, unless you don't know how to respect each other, and then that's a different story. Other than that, twitter.com/TechniqTV. You had the same technique spelling, but I put a T and a V at the end. And that's where everything that's happening with me and what I'm going to be up to and stuff like that. And definitely spread the word about this show. This is awesome. And that's about it.
Well, thank you. As always, everybody, thank you so much for listening. You can rate, you can comment, you can subscribe to the feed if you want. Most importantly to me is I want you to share this with somebody that you thought about while you were listening. The whole reason I do this is to share information and share knowledge with other people. So do that first, and then leave a comment or a rating if you want. Frank, thank you again, and to everyone who was listening, thank you so much, and I hope you have an awesome evening. Bye, everybody.
Bye.